Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Here at the live studios in Hythe, Kent, southeast England, just near the English Channel. On a clear day, we can see France from our window. I hope you're having a profound time reading and chanting more due to the coronavirus lockdown and pandemic. And I pray that you stay safe and well and happy in all respects, always. And brace yourself, because things are going to get worse before they get better. But with the heart of the devotee, it's always getting better, no matter what's going on externally in this material world. And this is the way. Hearing Caitanya-caritämrta with the devotees every day, it's so lovely and so... I was just talking to Abai today, and we were just amazed at the mercy of Krishna and how he fulfills all desires if we just try to please his devotees and him. Especially Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's the most merciful. Madan Avatar. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as we've been reading every day, to help us appreciate what the Sri Caitanya-caritämrta is to us. He said, in due course, Mahapralaya, devastating floods, will inundate the entire universe. This pandemic is nothing. If you attempt to survive by swimming in that deluge, then do not neglect to take hold of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Or, if you cannot hold all three, then release Bhagavad Gita. If necessary, you may also relinquish Srimad Bhagavatam, but under no circumstances release your hold on Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. For if this one book remains, then the flood can do no actual damage, because after it is subsided, the message of Shastra can be revived from Sri Caitanya-caritämrta alone, it being the essence of all Shastra. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we're continuing with chapter 7 of the Ädi-lilä, the glories of the Panchatattva. And Lord Chaitanya has met Prakashananda and the Mayavadi sannyasis in Varanasi. And we're beginning with text 87. Lord Chaitanya is now repeating the words of his spiritual master to Prakashananda Saraswati, who was questioning why he's hanging out with sentimentalists and just chanting and dancing. And Lord Chaitanya told Prakashananda Saraswati, I chant and dance because my spiritual master told me I was a fool and I wasn't actually qualified to study Vedanta. So he said, you just chant the holy name of Krishna. And then he gave me this mantra to tie around my neck. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Vakevalam, Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. And then he said, I started to chant, And I thought he was going crazy. I was laughing and dancing and chanting, and so I brought it to my spiritual master. What kind of mantra have you given me? And he said, oh, it's very nice. You attaining the goal of the chanting. So now he's continuing to relate to Prakashananda Saraswati what his spiritual master instructed him. Beginning with text 87. It is a characteristic of love of Godhead that by nature it induces transcendental symptoms in one's body, and it makes one more and more greedy to achieve the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. 88. When one actually develops love of Godhead, he naturally sometimes cries, sometimes laughs, sometimes chants, and sometimes runs here and there, just like a madman. Sounds like the Sankirtan devotees. Purport. In this connection, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami says that sometimes persons who have no love of Godhead at all display ecstatic bodily symptoms. Artificially, they sometimes laugh, cry, and dance, just like madmen, but this cannot help one progress in Krishna consciousness. Rather, such artificial agitation of the body is to be given up when one naturally develops the necessary bodily symptoms. Actual blissful life, manifested in genuine spiritual laughing, crying, and dancing, is the symptom of real advancement in Krishna consciousness, which can be achieved by a person who always voluntarily engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. If one who is not yet developed imitates such symptoms artificially, he creates chaos in the spiritual life of human society. 88, 89, and 90. Perspiration, trembling, standing on end of one's bodily hairs, tears, faltering voice, fading complexion, madness, melancholy, patience, pride, joy, and humility. These are various natural symptoms of ecstatic love of Godhead, which causes a devotee to dance and float in an ocean of transcendental bliss while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami, in his Priti Sandarbha, explains this stage of love of Godhead. Bhagavat Priti Rupa Vritir Mayadi Mayi Nabhavati Kim Tarhi Sarupa Shaktananda Rupa Yadananda Paradina Sri Bhagavan Apiti. Similarly, in the 69th verse, he offers further explanation. And I'll skip this, it's a little long. Poetic. Prose, Sanskrit prose. Transcendental love of Godhead is not under the jurisdiction of the material energy, for it is the transcendental bliss and pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the Supreme Lord is also under the influence of transcendental bliss, when one comes in touch with such bliss in love of Godhead, one's heart melts. And the symptoms of this are standing of the hairs on end, etc. Sometimes a person thus melts and manifests these transcendental symptoms, yet at the same time is not well behaved in his personal transactions. This indicates that he has not yet reached complete perfection in devotional life. In other words, a devotee who dances in ecstasy, but after dancing and crying appears to be attracted to material affairs, has not yet reached the perfection of devotional service, which is called Ashraya Shuddhi, or the perfection of existence. One who attains the perfection of existence is completely averse to material enjoyment and engrossed in transcendental love of Godhead. It is therefore to be concluded that the ecstatic symptoms of Ashraya Shuddhi are visible when a devotee's service has no material cause and is purely spiritual in nature. These are characteristics of transcendental love of Godhead, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 126, Savai Pung Sang Pado Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Darhoksaje Ahai Tuki Yapritayata Yayatma Supersedati. Ahai Tuki Apritayata Yayatma Supersedati. That religion is best which causes its followers to become ecstatic in love of God, that is unmotivated and free from material impediments, for this alone can completely satisfy the self. 91. It is very good, my dear child, that you have attained the supreme goal of life by developing love of Godhead. Thus you have pleased me very much, and I am very much obliged to you. Purport. According to the revealed scriptures, if a spiritual master can convert even one soul into a perfectly pure devotee, his mission in life is fulfilled. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur always used to say, even at the expense of all the properties, temples, and mats that I have, if I could convert even one person into a pure devotee, my mission would be fulfilled. It is very difficult, however, to understand the science of Krishna, what to speak of developing love of Godhead. Therefore, if by the grace of Lord Chaitanya and the spiritual master, a disciple attains the standard of pure devotional service, the spiritual master is very happy. The spiritual master is not actually happy if the disciple brings him money. But when he sees that a disciple is following the regulative principles and advancing in spiritual life, he is very glad and feels obliged to such an advanced disciple. Text 92. My dear child, continue dancing, chanting, and performing Sankirtan in association with devotees. Furthermore, go out and preach the value of chanting Krishna Nam. For by this process, you will be able to deliver all fallen souls. Purport. It is another ambition of the spiritual master to see his disciples not only chant, dance, and follow the regulative principles, but also preach the Sankirtan movement to others in order to deliver them. For the Krishna consciousness movement is based on the principle that one should become as perfect as possible in devotional service oneself, and also preach the cult for others' benefit. There are two classes of unalloyed devotees, namely Goshtyanandis and Bhajananandis. Bhajananandi refers to one who is satisfied to cultivate devotional service for himself, and Goshtyanandi is one who is not satisfied simply to become perfect himself, but wants to see others also take advantage of the holy name of the Lord and advance in spiritual life. The outstanding example is Prahlad Maharaj. When he was offered a benediction by Lord Nrsingadev, Prahlad Maharaj said, Naivod vijay paraduratyaya vaitaranyas twadvirya gayana mahamita magnachitaha choche tato vimukha chetasa indriyarta maya sukaya param udbahato vimudhan. My dear Lord, I have no problems and want no benediction from you, because I am quite satisfied to chant your holy name. This is sufficient for me, but whenever I chant, I immediately merge in an ocean of transcendental bliss. I only lament to see others bereft of your love. They are rotting in material activities for transient material pleasure and spoiling their lives, toiling all day and night simply for sense gratification, with no attachment for love of Godhead. I am simply lamenting for them and devising various plans to deliver them from the clutches of Maya. Bhagavatam 7, 9, 43. Write that one down. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains in his Anubhashya, a person who has attracted the attention of the spiritual master by his sincere service likes to dance and chant with similarly developed Krishna-conscious devotees. The spiritual master authorizes such a devotee to deliver fallen souls in all parts of the world. Those who are not advanced prefer to chant the Hare Krishna mantra in a solitary place. Such activities constitute, in the language of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, a type of cheating process, in the sense that they imitate the activities of exalted personalities like Haridas Thakur. One should not attempt to imitate such exalted devotees. Rather, everyone should endeavor to preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in all parts of the world, and thus become successful in spiritual life. One who is not very expert in preaching may chant in a secluded place, avoiding bad association, but for one who is actually advanced, preaching and meeting people who are not engaged in devotional service are not disadvantages. A devotee gives the non-devotees his association, but is not affected by their misbehavior. Thus, by the activities of a pure devotee, even those who are bereft of love of Godhead get a chance to become devotees of the Lord one day. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur advises that one discuss the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam beginning Naitat Samacharej Jatu Manasapi Yanishwaraha 10:33-30, and the following verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:2-255. Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjataha Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchate. One should not imitate the activities of great personalities. One should be detached from material enjoyment and should accept everything in connection with Krishna's service. Text 93. Saying this, my spiritual master taught me a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the essence of all the Bhagavatam's instructions. Therefore, he recited this verse again and again. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:2-40 was spoken by Sri Narada Muni to Vasudeva to teach him about Bhagavad Dharma. Vasudeva had already achieved the result of Bhagavad Dharma because Lord Krishna appeared in his house as his son. Yet in order to teach others, he desired to hear from Sri Narada Muni to be enlightened in the process of Bhagavad Dharma. This is the humbleness of a great devotee, and 94 is the verse. Evam vratak swapriya nama kirtya jatanurago drutachitta uchchahi hasatyato rodita rauti gayati unmadavan nrityati lokabhayaha. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also cries, laughs, cries, becomes agitated and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. 95 and 96. I firmly believe in these words of my spiritual master, and therefore I always chant the holy name of the Lord, alone and in the association of devotees. That holy name of Lord Krishna sometimes causes me to chant and dance, and therefore I chant and dance. Please do not think that I intentionally do it. I do it automatically. Purport. A person who cannot keep his faith in the words of his spiritual master, but acts independently, never receives the authority to chant the holy name of the Lord. It is said in the Vedas, Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.23, Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Gurau Tasyaite Katita Yarta Prakashante Mahatmanaha. Only under those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. This Vedic injunction is very important, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu supported it by his personal behavior. Believing in the words of his spiritual master, he introduced the Sankirtan movement just as the present Krishna consciousness movement was started with belief in the words of our spiritual master. He wanted to preach. We believed in his words and tried somehow or other to fulfill them. And now this movement has become successful all over the world. Therefore, faith in the words of the spiritual master and in the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the secret of success. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never disobeyed the orders of his spiritual master and stopped propagating the Sankirtan movement. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, at the time of his passing away, ordered all his disciples to work conjointly to preach the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. Later, however, some self-interested, foolish disciples disobeyed his orders. Each one of them wanted to become head of the mission, and they fought in the courts, neglecting the order of the spiritual master, and the entire mission was defeated. We are not proud of this. However, the truth must be explained. We believed in the words of our spiritual master and started in a humble way, in a helpless way, but due to the spiritual force of the order of the Supreme Authority, this movement has become successful. It is to be understood that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced, he did so by the influence of the pleasure potency of the spiritual world. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never considered the holy name of the Lord to be a material vibration, nor does any pure devotee mistake the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra to be a material, musical manifestation. Lord Chaitanya never tried to be the master of the holy name. Rather, he taught us how to be servants of the holy name. This is so important, I'm going to repeat this. Permission granted? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never considered the holy name of the Lord to be a material vibration, nor does any pure devotee mistake the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra to be a material, musical manifestation. Lord Chaitanya never tried to be the master of the holy name. Rather, he taught us how to be servants of the holy name. If one chants the holy name of the Lord just to make a show, not knowing the secret of success, he may increase his bile secretion, but he will never attain perfection in chanting the holy name. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented himself in this way, I am a great fool and do not have knowledge of right and wrong. In order to understand the real meaning of the Vedanta Sutra, I never followed the explanation of the Caitanya-caritämrta or Mayavadi sannyasis. I am very much afraid of the Caitanya-caritämrta or Mayavadi sannyasis. I am very much afraid of the illogical arguments of the Mayavadi philosophers. Therefore I think I have no authority regarding their explanations of the Vedanta Sutra. I firmly believe that simply chanting the holy name of the Lord can remove all misconceptions of the material world. I believe that simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. In this age of quarrel and disagreement, the chanting of the holy names is the only way to liberation from the material clutches. By chanting the holy name, Lord Chaitanya continued, I became almost mad. However, after inquiring from my spiritual master, I have come to the conclusion that instead of striving for an achievement in the four principles of religiosity, dharma, economic development, artha, sense gratification, kama, and liberation, moksha, it is better if somehow or other one develops transcendental love of Godhead. That is the greatest success in life. One who has attained love of Godhead chants and dances by his nature, not caring for the public. This stage of life is known as Bhagavat Jivana, or the life of a devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, I never chanted and danced to make an artificial show. I dance and chant because I firmly believe in the words of my spiritual master. Although the Mayavadi philosophers do not like this chanting and dancing, I nevertheless perform it on the strength of his words. Therefore it is to be concluded that I deserve very little credit for these activities of chanting and dancing, for they are being done automatically by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Ecstatic Purports ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Text 97. Compared to the ocean of transcendental bliss that one tastes by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the pleasure derived from impersonal Brahman realization, Brahmananda, is like the shallow water in a canal. Purport. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.138 it is stated, Brahmanando bhaved esha chet prarabdha gunikritaha naiti bhakti sukham bodhe paramanu tulam api. If Brahmananda, the transcendental bliss derived from understanding impersonal Brahman, were multiplied 1,000,000 times, such a quantity of Brahmananda could not compare with even an atomic portion of the pleasure relished in pure devotional service. Text 98. My dear Lord, O Master of the universe, since I have directly seen you, my transcendental bliss has taken the shape of a great ocean. Being situated in that ocean, I now realize all other so-called happiness to be like the water contained in the hoof print of a calf. Purport. The transcendental bliss enjoyed in pure devotional service is like an ocean, whereas material happiness and even the happiness to be derived from the realization of impersonal Brahman are just like the water in the hoof print of a calf. This is a verse from Hari Bhakti Surodaya 14:36. Text 99. After hearing Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Mayavadi sannyasis were moved. Their minds changed, and thus they spoke with pleasing words. The purport. The Mayavadi sannyasis met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Varanasi to criticize the Lord regarding his participation in the Sankirtan movement, which they did not like. This demonic nature of opposition to the Sankirtan movement perpetually exists, as it existed in the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Similarly, it existed long before that, even in the time of Prahlad Maharaj. He used to chant in Sankirtan, although his father did not like it, and that was the reason for the misunderstanding between the father and son. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.15, the Lord says, Namam dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradamaha mayaya paritagyana asuram bhavam ashritaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. The Mayavadi sannyasis are asuram bhavam ashritaha, which means that they have taken the path of the asuras, demons, who do not believe in the existence of the form of the Lord. The Mayavadis say that the ultimate source of everything is impersonal, and in this way they deny the existence of God. Saying that there is no God is direct denial of God, and saying that God exists, but he has no head, legs, or hands, and cannot speak, hear, or eat, is a negative way of denying his existence. A person who cannot see is called blind. One who cannot walk is called lame. One who has no hands is called helpless. One who cannot speak is called dumb. And one who cannot hear is called deaf. The Mayavadi's proposition that God has no legs, no eyes, no ears, and no hands is an indirect way of insulting him by defining him as blind, deaf, dumb, lame, helpless, and so on. Therefore, although they present themselves as great Vedantists, they are factually mayaya parita jnana. In other words, they seem to be very learned scholars, but the essence of their knowledge has been taken away. Impersonalist Mayavadis always try to defy Vaishnavas because Vaishnavas accept the Supreme Personality as the supreme cause and want to serve him, talk with him, and see him. Just as the Lord is also eager to see his devotees and talk, eat, and dance with them. These personal exchanges of love do not appeal to the Mayavadi sannyasis. Therefore, the original purpose of the Mayavadi sannyasis of Benares in meeting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was to defeat his personal conception of God. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, as a preacher, turned the minds of the Mayavadi sannyasis. They were melted by the sweet words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and thus became friendly and spoke to him also in sweet words. Similarly, all preachers will have to meet opponents, but they should not make them more inimical. They are already enemies, and if we talk with them harshly or impolitely, their enmity will merely increase. We should therefore follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as far as possible, and try to convince the opposition by quoting from the Shastras and presenting the conclusion of the Acharyas. It is in this way that we should try to defeat all the enemies of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Haribo. 1 minute. Text 100. Dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what you have said is all true. Only one who is favored by fortune attains love of Godhead. Purport. One who is actually very fortunate can begin Krishna consciousness, as stated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Rupa Goswami. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Poy Bhakti Lata Bij C.C. Madhya 151. And there are millions of living entities who have become conditioned by the laws of material nature, and they are wandering throughout the planetary systems of this universe in different bodily forms. Among them, one who is fortunate meets a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna and comes to understand the meaning of devotional service. By discharging devotional service under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master or acharya, he develops love of Godhead. One whose love of Godhead, Krishna Prema, is awakened and who thus becomes a devotee of the inconceivable Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be considered extremely fortunate. The Mayavadi sannyasis admitted this fact to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is not easy for one to become a Krishna conscious person, but by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it can be possible, as will be proven in the course of this narration. So we'll stop here. This is a good meeting place. Now we're going to hear the Mayavadis talk to him, and they'll continue their conversation. Hare Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Pure Bhakti Yoga ki jai. Holy name of the Lord ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Harinam Japa ki jai. Okay, time for our reflection. Anything out there in cyberspace today? Wow, we've got another quiet crowd. The subject matter is too ecstatic. I knew it was going to be like this. I'll start it off. I really like that part about how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke so sweetly to the Mayavadis, even though he was saying something that was completely opposite of what they would think, but he said it in such a way, so personally and so affectionately. You know, he didn't rabble-rouse, and he didn't speak harshly, and their heart melted. And then Prabhupada's purport, he said, whenever you're preaching, you're going to come up against people who don't like what you say, who don't agree with what you say. So we shouldn't make them more inimical by our behavior. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada was able to speak very strongly the truth in a way that appeared to be harsh sometimes, but because his words were so spiritually powerful, people would go away, even when they were called rascals, they would go away satisfied and happy with Prabhupada almost all the time. Not all the time, but almost all the time. So it means that if we serve, the whole thing is to have our service be unmotivated. Whatever we're doing for Krishna, whether it be the littlest thing or the biggest thing, if our service is unmotivated, if we're doing it to please Krishna and to spread the Krishna consciousness movement, and we're always thinking how to do that, how to present things, how to give things, how to do things in a way that people will become attracted to the holy name and to Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, then the quality of our sound vibration when we talk or chant changes, and it touches the heart. So that's why we want to advance in Krishna consciousness, not for our own selves to find out who we are with Krishna and to have some kind of, okay, when we're advanced and we're with Krishna, we want, that's everything, but we don't want to just be with Krishna, because Krishna's never like that. He's always surrounded by devotees. The only person he ever wants to be alone with is Radharani. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now.
Rati Manjari. She says,
Welcome back, Rati. You almost made it last night. Didn't quite make it.
Says, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I have a few questions. Could you please explain what is the meaning of having implicit faith in the spiritual master in the Vedic literatures? How is one supposed to combine this with the need sometimes to ask questions and have doubts removed?
Implicit faith in the spiritual master does not mean you, it means you don't doubt the spiritual master. Implicit faith means that it is based on deep, enduring faith and a service attitude. You have to get doubts removed, and you have to question to get doubts removed. But you shouldn't question in a challenging mood. It should be done in a submissive mood. Pariprashnena sevaya. Submissive questioning and service. This is the proper formula. The doubts may not be correct, but it doesn't mean that you should doubt the spiritual master. You may have a doubt in some conception, and the spiritual master may give you the answer, and it may not satisfy you because it didn't remove the doubt. It takes two for this to work. Prabhupada gave the example of a strong signal, radio signal, and a radio receiver. If the signal is strong, but the radio receivers is something wrong with it, you won't get the sound. If the radio receiver is strong and in working order, but the signal is not strong, you won't get the sound clear. So it requires both. So the secret, the key, is the development of the service attitude. Service attitude means that you want to please the person you're serving. There's all kinds of people doing service for money, but if somebody stops them the pay, then they stop serving. So they're not serving out of love for the person, they're serving for money. And if we have habits, second nature habits, because of the conditioning of our birth, the country we're born in, the body we have, the experiences that we had our whole life, it takes time. It takes time for those things to become adjusted. And meantime, we have to be patient, and we have to have implicit faith. That means the faith has to come to a point where you're sure. Implicit faith means you're sure that what you're going to get from your spiritual master is correct. And therefore, your inquiries, even if they're asking something that may be not challenging exactly, but doubtful, they have to be done with that spirit. And then if the answer's right, and if the person's correct, then it will change your heart. It will remove the doubt. And if we harbor a doubt, if we don't have implicit faith, but we harbor a doubt, then no matter how much you ask the spiritual master, no matter how much he gives you the right answers, the doubts won't go away. It's like if a person's pretending to sleep and his friend's trying to wake him up, it's not possible. Only if a person's actually asleep and you try to wake him up, then they'll wake up immediately. So then you may say, oh yes, but I'm this and I'm that and I'm this. No. Nama parada yukta nam maya. Nama, I need this verse. Could you get me the verse book? I don't remember, I never can remember the last two lines of this verse. But it's really important. Here it is. From the Padma Purana. Nama parada yuktanam naman yeva harantyagam avishanti prayuktani tanyevarta karanicha. The chanting of the Hare Krishna of Hare Krishna is recommended for persons who commit offenses. Because if they continue chanting, they will gradually chant offenselessly. Even if in the beginning one chants the Hare Krishna mantra with offenses, one will become free from such offenses by chanting again and again. So the same goes for inquiry. Keep inquiring again and again, and eventually, and keep chanting, and keep hearing. And eventually, it will all become purified, and your faith will become implicit. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada Prabhu says.
Who?
Prabhupada.
Hey, Braj.
He just commented.
We're getting the band back together.
He says, let the Shabda Brahman flow.
We're getting the band together. This is the Shabda Brahman band. Hey, they should name a group like that. Shabda Brahma. That's a great name for a band. Shabda Brahma. Who are you going to hear tonight? I'm hearing Shabda Brahma. Man, he's got a guitar player to knock your socks off.
Something from Rati Manjari.
Okay, Rati.
She says, thank you very much. I appreciate your explanation. Please excuse my sometimes wrong use of words. Also, tonight we heard about the Bhajananandi devotees, and Srila Prabhupada seemed to favor the path of preaching the Goshtyanandis. Could you please explain how we are to see the great acharyas in our line, like Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj?
He was the greatest preacher of all. He didn't keep it in seclusion. People from all over India came to see him. Did you know that? He wasn't just satisfied with his own bhajan, he was preaching up a storm. People would come to him and try to give him things and try to, induce them, to be their guru because he was a big guy and everybody would, become proud of themselves because they had him as their spiritual master. He didn't find very many sincere people. So he didn't initiate many. He only initiated one disciple, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he was the greatest preacher. That's how we understand. Haridas Thakur, he chanted, he also would go out when Lord Chaitanya, before he took sannyas, before he went to Puri, and he lived with him in Puri, he used to go out with Lord Chaitanya. With Lord Nityananda rather. Lord Chaitanya would send out Haridas Thakur and Lord Nityananda door to door, and they would, when the door would open, they'd fall in the ground in front of the householders and beg them to chant Hare Krishna. But when Haridas Thakur chanted, he would, in the mind, in his heart, he would pray for the deliverance of the world. And because his desire was so pure, then Lord Chaitanya agreed. You might remember Vasudeva Datta, the dear devotee of Lord Chaitanya, eternal associate. Vasudeva Datta was a very special person. He was householder. He had his wife. I don't know if he had children. I don't remember hearing about children, but he had wife at least. And whatever was given to him, he would give away. He was so liberal that whenever anybody gave it to him, he would give it away or use it somehow or other in devotional service. And the wife didn't have anything. So came to Lord Chaitanya's notice, and Lord Chaitanya came to Shivananda Sain, and he said, Shivananda, you take care of Vasudeva Datta because he cannot manage anything. So you manage his finances. He didn't chastise Vasudeva Datta because he couldn't manage his finances. He had Shivananda Sain do it so that he could stay in his transcendental position. So Vasudeva Datta once came to Lord Chaitanya and he said, my Lord, I only have one desire. He said, I can no longer tolerate seeing the suffering of the conditioned souls in the world. So I just beg you, please deliver them. And if you think that their sinful reactions have to be paid for, then you leave me here in this universe alone and deliver all the souls, and I will suffer their sinful reactions for as long as it takes. And as soon as Lord Chaitanya heard that, tears started falling from his eyes. And he said, Vasudeva Datta, your desire is so pure, you don't even have to ask. It's done. The Lord will do that. Rupa and Sanatan, Raghunath Das Goswami, they stayed, more or less in seclusion. They were living underneath a tree. But what did they do? Their service was to compile literatures that would eventually enlighten the world. They were the biggest preachers. So the bhajan and nandi that he's talking about and he's criticizing and Bhaktisiddhanta criticized were the ones that would stay by themselves and not contact anybody and just work on their own personal relationship with the Lord. not caring. So that's how you see our Vaishnava, previous acharyas, they had different duties given to them by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rupa Goswami, he wouldn't even talk to any people. Tried to come and argue with him to become, big acharyas. He wouldn't even just sign the paper. Here, yes, you defeated me. He didn't want to waste his time. But the books that he wrote, they just, and Sanatana Goswami, they just spread Krishna consciousness like anything. Whole Vrindavan, when they got to Vrindavan, there was nothing. No temples, just villagers, doing their normal service. There was nothing. Nobody, none of the places of the Lord's pastimes were being worshipped. Nobody knew about them. Can you imagine? So their preaching was to excavate the places of pilgrimage and write these books. Those were the direct orders of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if someone follows the direct order of their spiritual master in this movement, in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and cooperate together to spread the movement, to increase the movement, even though we may not agree with one another about how to do that, we may have different styles, we may have different moods and different personalities, but the total effect of it will be the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement. And that's what Prabhupada meant, and that's what he meant by cooperation.
Rati Manjari wrote a comment.
Yes, please.
She says, when we visited Srila Goraki, She says, when we visited Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj's Samadhi a few months ago during Vaisheshika Prabhu's Mayapur Yatra, we heard a beautiful talk there in which it was said that Srila Jagannath Das Babaji's austerities and japa chanting laid the foundation for the spreading of Krishna consciousness all over the world.
Yes. Correct.
Something from Vrajaloka Devi Dasi.
Yes, Vrajaloka. Hey, Vrajaloka, I need more of this. You sent it to me and it just ran out. My voice is going to choke up and I won't be able to do this anymore. So you got to help. You got to send some of this medicine. Sangrol. Sangarol. Please. Hare Krishna. Okay.
She says, Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your daily readings. I loved the last paragraph of the purport of 95 and 96 verses. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, I never chanted and danced to make an artificial show. I dance and chant because I firmly believe in the words of my spiritual master. Although the Mayavadi philosophers do not like this chanting and dancing, I nevertheless perform it on the strength of his words. Therefore it is to be concluded that I deserve very little credit for these activities of chanting and dancing, for they are being done automatically by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Could you please elaborate the real meaning of the last sentence? Thank you so much, your servant.
Read the last sentence again.
Therefore it is to be concluded that I deserve very little credit for these activities of chanting and dancing, for they are being done automatically by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, that spontaneous love of God means that one doesn't make an effort to chant and dance. It's like Lord Chaitanya said. He already said it to them. He said, don't think that I try to chant and dance. Don't think I'm thinking to chant and dance. I just chant and dance. Automatically. So that when a person's advanced in Krishna consciousness, they will sometimes just chant all of a sudden out of the blue, to the top of their lungs, and they don't care about whether somebody's upset or not, or whether it looks weird or whatever.
She says she will send some this week.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm completely happy. When will it arrive? Just a second. Today's the 15th. Will it arrive in 2 days? 3 days? Anyway, thank you very much for that comment and those questions. And Rati, thank you very much for asking that lovely question. It was beautiful. Okay, I have a whole bunch of stuff to do tonight. And I had one of the Zoom meetings today, so I've got a lot of work on my plate. So I'm going to stop now. And thank you so much. And this section of the Caitanya-caritämrta is one of my favorite sections in all of Srila Prabhupada's books. And I hope that you're all enjoying this ride, this wonderful journey, plying the ocean of the nectar of Srila Prabhupada's ecstatic purports and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's ecstatic glorification of the Panchatattva. Jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Samaveda Bhaktabinda ki Jai. We'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same station, same time. Just like a rock. Hare Krishna.